Alright, everybody, welcome back to the channel, the main event here. And today we're going to be going over the recently completed Hartford Regionals that was won by Chien Tang. So another Tang wins an event, which is funny. I had tweeted Justin that there's a new leader of the Tang gang, and it's Chien. But question of the day: what is your favorite way to learn about VGC? So whether it's videos, online resources, Twitter, whatever. The reason I asked that question is because I'm using a resource here called Cut Explorer, where they give you all the top cuts of the event, shows all the teams. You can click the names to get the pace. So I clicked it and I got Shiliang's pace up here. The first place team, I got the second place team. I'm gonna go into both those teams. You can go by top 60, 128. You can go by top 60 to day 2 teams, or you can skip it and just go straight to top cut, which is really nice. Then in top cut or in another thing, you can see the number of Pokemon in top cut specifically, by how many. Oh, why is it not showing up on the screen for you guys? That's weird. But I promise you, yeah. So I clicked Iron Bundle. So as you can see, it shows like Iron Bundle, Tera types, 18 out of 30 Iron Bundles in day 2, or Tera Ice, Tera Ghost for 8 of them, Grass for 3 of them, Tera Water for 1. Now, I wonder if that one was like Tera Water, Tera Blast. All of them were Cork Drive, obviously. If we were to go by top 128, it shows 29, 16. So like you guys kind of get the drift here. Let's reset. There we go. So yeah, it's a really cool resource. So yeah, it was won by Chien Tang. I'm not sure. Some of you may have heard of him. Some of you may have not. He has competed at a number of events before. He's more well known for his team building. You've probably seen some of his teams on like a Cybertron video. So he's a really premier team builder, which makes his win kind of ironic, because if you look at his squad, King Gambit, Flutter, Arcanine, Chien, Dragonite, Iron Bundle, and if you look at like the pace of the team, Tera Grass Goggles, Arcanine, pretty standard. Will-O-Wisp, Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, Protect. The King Gambit, Tera Fire, Assault Vest, Sucker Punch, Assurance, Iron Head. It has Low Kick instead of Tera Blast. Low Kick was pretty common on earlier King Gambit sets, so it's still not something out of the ordinary. Shadow Ball, Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt, Choice Specs, very standard. Flutter, standard Chien, Tera Ghost, Sucker Punch, Sacred Sword, Ice Spinner, Protect. The Dragonite is a little bit out of the ordinary, and I'll get into that in a second. The Iron Bundle, Booster Energy, Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, Icy Wind, Tera Ice. So most of the team is pretty normal, right? You'd think, because like he comes up with a lot of fun, creative teams that are really strong. But for the event, he just decided, I'm just gonna play better than everyone else, which is exactly what he did. He brought a pretty straightforward team, and he just kind of outplayed people. The Dragonite is Choice Band, which is pretty normal. Aqua Jet has popped up on it some. But it's not super common, and Outrage is something that's picking up on it, and that's kind of what I want to talk about for the Dragonite itself. Outrage is such a gutsy move to be using on Dragonite in a meta where fairy types are so common, because one, Outrage, you can't pick who you target, right? So if you target the fairy type, you just wasted your turn. You can't target, like I said, so if you target into Protect, you just wasted your move. But when Outrage Choice Band Dragonite hits stuff, I think there was a time on stream where it like O-code and Iron Hands. Like, it's such a powerful move when it works, and I think that's kind of the appeal of it. But yeah, like if you go up to the selected Pokemon and you go Fluttermane, there's 88 Fluttermanes in the top 128. So that's a vast majority of teams, and they're all, most of them in Tera Fairy, right? 79 out of 80 of Tera Fairy. So it's not like they're terraing into types that you can take advantage of. So for like Water and Ghost, so you can hit, but Fairy you can't touch. So like the fact that Outrage Dragonite still managed to win the event just shows how well he played. In top 8 even, like 5 out of the 6 teams, there were 6 Fluttermanes, and 5 out of 6 of them had Tera Fairy. So you had to play around Fluttermanes strong, and he managed to do it. Probably because of the King Gambit. He has the King Gambit and the Chien, which are pretty strong into Fluttermane because they do a lot of damage to it. But yeah, his team's pretty standard. If you look at the top 8 itself, you see something that I wanted to point out as well from like a previous the Portland video. We talked about this, like the decline on Palafin. As you can, there's no Palafins in top 8. Let's go to day 2. I'm pretty sure there was no Palafins in day 2 either. Unless I'm missing one, you guys can point it out to me on the screen. But I'm pretty sure there's no Palafins in day 2. Yeah, there's actually not a single Palafin here that I can see. Yeah, there's not a single Palafin. And I'll even go to 128 for you guys real quick and just scroll down really quickly. But I'm just not seeing. Okay, there's a Palafin here in the top 128. So Palafin made an appearance. There's another Palafin here. So there's a Palafin here. So Palafin did make it to the event. and it did have some results, but not the results you're used to seeing from Palafin. And I think we covered a lot of that in the previous video about an event. One, because Sun was so strong, Tera Grass was becoming a strong thing, Tera Water was a thing. Also, you notice there's a lot of Iron Hands. It's actually pretty good into Palafin. Let me see, Iron Hands. I know it's in here somewhere. Iron Hands. There's 26 Iron Hands in the top 228. There's 16 in the top in the day 2 squads, and there was 6 in the top 8. Hold on, let's go to the resource and go to the top 8. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like Iron Hands is making a huge resurgence right now. It fell off for a little bit, but like I just think people realize like Iron Hands, one, it's good into all the ruins, right? It forces a Tera in all of them because close combat probably just send them all to Valhalla. It'll just blow them all up. So it forces a Tera, right, which is good board control because now you can pop your opponent's Tera, especially in open team sheet. You know where they're going to Tera into, so you have a good way to play around that. A lot of people are doing like Swords Dance stuff. I think Wolfie was doing a Swords Dance set. Yeah, Wolf had a Detect, Drain Punch, Swords Dance leftover set with Tera Grass. Wrong thing. Where we at? Oh, you know what? With this site, you click it, you have to go back. Yeah, that's what it was. I didn't click open a new tab. Ryan's team, I want to see what his set was. So he had a Assault Vest set, which is more standard, Wild Charge, Drain Punch, Heavy Slam, Fake Out. Iron Hands fell off for a bit because it was a bit of an item Tera hog kind of thing, where it's like you wanted Tera Grass, you wanted Tera Fire, you wanted Assault Vest, you wanted Goggles, because you wanted to avoid sleep, you wanted to avoid burn, you wanted to avoid getting hit on your special side. You can't usually do all three. But I think people just kind of decided, you know what, it's still such a good Pokemon. Well, I'm not gonna bring it anyway and just try to like EV it to live hits, or play around those hits. Essentially, let's go back to Ryan's team. So one of the things we mentioned in the Portland regional recap is that I thought the way people would bring Palafin back to prominence would be with Rain. This Rain team did come in second place and also won Malamo regionals with Palafin, I believe. So we're kind of right on that sense. But in this Rain team, this player brought Azumarill instead. Now the reason I think they brought Azumarill is because the Aqua Jet liquidation is obviously very strong, but I think it's for the play rough coverage. I think fairy coverage into the ruins is really good. Like, especially like I guess Chien, even though it's not common, but play rough gives you a way to hit them all. And then Azumarill is not gonna struggle as much in Sun because it has coverage of a different type and it's not relying only on water moves like Palafin. So I guess that's what this player was going for, like just in case there's for some reason they can't get their weather control up. They can still hit really strong no matter what. So I think that was a good call. This is a really cool Joldango set. It was Trick, Nasty Plot, Make It Rain, Shadow Ball. I know it probably looks funny on the surface, but it actually paid dividends in top 4, I believe it was, or top 8 on stream, where he actually did it against my boy So High, where he tricked the friggin' Choice Scarf onto like his in game 1 he tricked it onto the King Gambit, and So High just kind of like forfeited at that point because he didn't have access to all his moves at that point. He had to pick one and lock into it. He couldn't protect, he couldn't Sucker Punch. He could have Sucker Punch, but then he'd be locked in Sucker Punch. He could have Counter Cleave, but then he'd be locked in Counter Cleave. He wouldn't have the protect option, etc. Then there was another in the other game he tricked it onto the Amoonguss. So Amoonguss only had access to Pollen Puff, which made it really tough. So I think it looks funny on this thing, but you can like trick the Scarf off, and then you can use your Nasty Plots to make it rain. Terra Steel and Rain is really good because we're trying to avoid like that fire type weakness by some, and Rain helps mitigate that, and then you get really good offenses from that, and that way you don't have to like Terra Water to just avoid all kinds of damage, because like I said, Steel usually still gets hit by fire, which is why some people have gone away from it, but with Rain you kind of don't have that problem. Booster Energy version of the Flutter Mane instead of the Choice Specs, which a lot of people have decided to pick up because of how flexible Protect Flutter Mane is and how much damage it still does with Booster Energy. So I kind of can see why that. He went for the Pelipper with the Sash and the Wyguard. Wyguard Pelipper is back. People were sleeping on Pelipper for a bit. They kind of were saying it's like its time is over, but apparently it's not. You know, it's still good if you can play it right. And then we already covered the Iron Hand, and he went for the Steel Moongus, which like I said on the Rain team kind of makes sense, right? Because you get a lot of those resistances. Even though I'm not a big fan of Terra Steel as it is, I just think Steel has, while it's the best defensive type we've usually had, I think right now in this format with like Chi-Yu and Great Tusk being so high usage Pokemon, Terra Steel is just not giving you as much as it would in other formats. Okay, so what I want to go over, like I said, for some reason you guys can't see it, but I'll tell you what I'm looking at. I'm on the top 128. I'm in the select the Pokemon. I am looking at the ruins, right? So Chien was the highest of the top 128 with 45. Chien had 43. Tinglu had 23, and then Chien is somewhere in there because I know one made top 4. So I think there's like one Chien. And then top 10. So to day 2, it changes a bit where like Chien has 17, and Chien has 21. So actually both still at the top. Both of them are still more than Tinglu. Which is interesting, right? Tinglu was kind of like the highest used one on like the Tinglu kind of balance, back palette balance, balance stuff. The format seems to be shifting into a little bit more offensive, which is probably why Chien and Chien are seeing a little bit higher usage. And not only are they seeing the usage, but they're seeing the conversion, right? I've talked about that in the past where the usage is just how many of those Pokemon are coming. But then the conversion is how many of those Pokemon are making it to like the next day, making it to top cut. Like even in top cut, there's 3 Chien, 3 Chien Pals, based on what I can see here. There's 3 Tinglus. So even though there was less Tinglus being used on these days by a little bit, there was a little, it converted top 8 at the same, at actually technically a higher rate, because if there was less Tinglus to start, but an equal number of Tinglus made it to the top 8, then it converted at a higher rate. So Tinglu, you can argue, probably still the best ruin, based on like this small sample size of results. But again, Chien, I'm gonna Kyle Livinghouse did it. I'm gonna see what his Chien set was, because Chien just doesn't cut events, right? It just doesn't do well. Leech Seed, Polymer Protect, Foul Play. So it's very Terra Water, which is very standard Chien. So you just played it really well, honestly. Sometimes that's just what it takes, right? Since you gotta play it really well. The team is pretty bulky on the top. Like you have the teeth, the Iron Hands, which is a pretty bulky Pokemon, the Assault Vest, and then the Chien does step on its toes a little bit with the attack, but also you're not taking as much damage, right? So you potentially could work it out that way. You get a fake out support, like getting off your Leech Seed. You can Pollen Puff your Iron Hands. So even though you're doing a little bit less damage, if you're keeping it alive, you're getting more bites at the apple, so you're still doing enough damage. He has the Focus Sash Glamora, Power Gem, Earth Power. He has Toxic, and Toxic the Breeze is interesting. I didn't realize this was the set. He has the Toxic on the Glamora, right? So you can poison stuff. Usually when you're in Toxic, you run Corrosion, so you can like poison like poison types or other immunities, but except for like, yeah, and you can Toxic Steel types. Yeah, you can Toxic Steel types. Usually you run Toxic plus Corrosion, but even with Toxic Breeze and Focus Sash, right? Which is a known strategy, right? You can kind of switch your Glamora into something, get hit down to your Sash, but still set up a layer of spikes, and then you can like Toxic stuff that's on the field. So it's a good set in my opinion. Another booster energy, Flutter. This person, Kyle, went with the Talonflame as their Tailwind setter, because Talonflame was really strong for a bit. It kind of fell off a little bit, but seems like some players still have faith in it, which I think is a good call because Talonflame is a good Pokemon right now. Brave Bird, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, Tailwind, pretty standard set. Terra Ghost to avoid those fake outs and those Extreme Speeds, Goggles for the Amoonguss matchup. Which you kind of need for this team. I'm looking at the squad. You're not great into Amoonguss. You don't really hit it for anything except Talonflame and Chien. And then even then, if you like Terra Water on it, you kind of struggle a little bit to hit it. So I think it's a good call to have the Goggles and Taunt here. This is a Terra Water Chien with Terra Blast, Dark Pulse, Heat Wave, Life Orb. So it's probably a nice spread so it can survive hits. It would be my guess, the actual EV spread. I think Wolf used a Nasty Plot version of the team. Protect, Flamethrower, Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse. Yeah, so he's Flamethrower with an Overheat. He didn't use Heat Wave. So the Chien sets are starting to vary a little bit. Like some people are using Overheat, Heat Wave, Dark Pulse. Some people are using Nasty Plot sets. Goggles is picking up on it. Terra Water seems to be its best Terra type right now. The Chien sets are starting to vary, but I'm actually going to just click it. Chien is going, okay, so 14 out of the 45 Chiens in top 128 were Grass, and then 11 were Ghost, 11 were Water. So Grass still seems to be the most common one. So this is actually really cool. So the Grass ones, if you click it, right, you can see what items they were holding. So 3 had a Sash. So 3 had a Sash, right? But if you get off of that and you go to the Water ones, they mostly had Safety Goggles. So Water ones were running Safety Goggles, but because the Terra Grass ones didn't need necessarily Safety Goggles, you could run your Sash. So you get some versatility out of it. So that's actually really cool that the way this resource works. It shows you how the Pokemon are running it. So the Grass ones running Dark Pulse, Heat Wave, Protect, Terra Blast, Grass. The water ones are running Dark Pulse, Heat Wave Protect, Nasty Plot, which is actually interesting. I guess water gives you more bulk, so you can put some into your bulk and then use Nasty Plot to mitigate your special, not having as much special attack investment. I think that's a really good tech, honestly. That's actually a really good tech. The ghost ones are probably more in line with the grass ones. Dark Pulse, Heat Wave Protect, Overheat. Yeah, I thought as much, because that's more like the standard Chiyu stuff. They run mostly Sash, and they run some safety goggles. I think I'm running a Ghost Sash Chiyu right now myself. The Chien pals, because I want to just go over that. They are running mostly Ghost. They're running some Flying. Fighting. Oh my goodness, I just want to click the Fighting one. Focus Sash on the Fighting. Ice Spinner, Protect, Sacred Sword, Throw, Chop. Oh, no priority. That's interesting. No priority on this one. Tera, Ghost, Ice Spinner, Sacred Sword, Protect, Sucker Punch, Haze on a couple. 2 Life Orb Chien pals is interesting. Focus Sash is on 16 of them. 16 of 18 in the top 128. The flying ones were running the flying ones are running Haze a lot and dropping Sacred Sword, which is interesting. This is actually a really good resource. I think all of you guys should like look at it, just to see like event results and to see what people are running, what Tera's items and moves people are running in conjunction. That's the best thing about this resource. You see all 3 of those things at once, and you can sort by it, and you can like see their partners. I think it's really good resource for players to use. But I think that's gonna be all that I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys thought of the event. Again, question of the day: what is your favorite way to learn about VGC? If it's watching me, hey, you put in the comments. I ain't mad at it. But quick shout outs to Sheila and Tang. Shout out to Wolf. Shout out to my boy Sohive. Shout out to my boy Eric. Shout out to my boy James. Shout out to my boy Paul. Shout out to my boy Josh for making top 16. I know he was tired of finishing top 32 of these events. He wanted to break through that. Shout out to my boy Joe. Trying to think. I just want to shout out all the people who I've like either met or I talk to regularly. Yan Chak. Shout out to the boy Yan Chak. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next. Oh, shout out to Kaguya too. He made day 2 and I was rooting for him hard. Blake Falls, my boy Blake. So now I'm done. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.